Welcome to day 35 of the New Way. I'll read John 2, 1 through 12. On the third day, a wedding took place in Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so. And the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother and brothers and his disciples. There they stayed for a few days. We'll talk more about Jewish weddings later, but for the purpose of this story, you need to know that they usually lasted several days, and the groom's parents were responsible for providing food and drinks for the whole community and all the relatives from far and near. It was a huge expense and quite a celebration. I think there are several major points that we can glean from this event in Jesus' ministry. The first one is that Jesus doesn't call us to a life of isolation from people. He calls us to share his light and love everywhere we go and with everyone we meet. There are times of preparation, like when we are young in our faith, when we need extended time to be alone with God and other followers of Jesus. But then that time should come to an end, and we should encounter people of all beliefs and backgrounds in order to let our light shine. Jesus attended this wedding celebration probably as a relative, since it wasn't in his hometown. Also, it seems that his mother was helping with the serving, which probably indicated that they were relatives. Now let's place this in time. Jesus had been baptized and declared by God and by John the Baptizer that he was the Messiah. Then Jesus spent time in the desert with God, 40 days and 40 nights. Then he started gathering some men and asking them to follow him. But as yet, they hadn't seen anything miraculous or supernatural that we know of. If you've heard this story since you were a child, I'm afraid that you may not allow your brain to process what you just read in these verses. Jesus turned plain well water, it wasn't even the fancy bottled kind, into a top-of-the-line wine. Can you say, wow? Can you at least admit that the disciples were standing there with their eyes bugged out and their mouths hanging open? Can you picture the excitement that was going through the servants? They and the disciples were the only ones who knew the truth. What would you think if you were one of the servants and just saw what happened? Incredible, wasn't it? We'll continue this discussion tomorrow. In his service, Dale.